Right. Okay. We're live.
Hello.
So yeah, we were just chatting already a little bit, but we stopped the recording because it was not the recording. We stopped chatting and pressed record because it was too good. So we are here with Lu today. And again, we always try and let our guests introduce themselves. So would you be happy to share your little introduction as to who you are, what you do, why you do it, etc., with the audience?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I do find self-introductions a bit cringe. What can I say? I'm Lu Castello. If you see me on LinkedIn, you know that I'm Sicilian and non-binary, proudly. And my passion is trying to end the curse of toxic workplace. Toxic workplaces, and yeah, I'm focused on making sure that young founders know better going forward, so we can build better. How is that for an introduction?
Sounds good. Sounds like a big job.
It's a good mission, yeah.
Is my audio echoing?
Yeah, I think you're echoing a bit.
It's better now, yeah. What prompted you to move into this field of work?
It's not, I wouldn't say like it was a super conscious thing. I think it was more like a natural evolution to what I was doing before. So I used to be specialized. Well, I'm still specialized. I just don't work in events anymore. But I used to organize festivals. So I'm one of those crazy people who loved being on their feet like 14 hours a day for months on end in the mud outdoors. And I think when you do this type of jobs, you have to lead very diverse teams and like volunteers as well, and people from all over the world. And the type of the type of environment you're in, everything has to be done with a certain timing. But at the same time, each department has to be highly communicative with each other. So you have this and then in the meantime, you have absolute chaos. You have like so many things that just go wrong because it's just the nature of it. Like there are so many people involved on one site, so it's just inevitable. There are always things popping up, and I think like the nature of that made me really passionate about understanding how to keep my people happy and how to really like just make people feeling happy that what they were doing with their work. Like how did their work have meaning in the overall, because when you need to pull people up like 7 a.m. in the morning in the Scottish countryside with like pouring rain and cold winds, and you're not even paying them because they're volunteers, you need to find creative ways to keep them happy and keep them like feeling like they're being part of something, and they are. Because I think like a big shift that we should do as a society as well is leaders are not important at all. Leaders just have a function, and that function is to serve. But then the team is like, it's what's important. It's like each and every single person that is adding something, So I just like everything I learned in the events industry, I'm passionate about passing it on to young founders. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of stumbled on it.
And why, when you say young founders, do you mean young in age or young in how long they've worked in a particular business?
So it's usually more young in terms of the business stage. So not particularly startups. I don't work a lot with startups because they have a different type of dynamic and focus. There is a lot more focus on money rounds, although I do believe there should be more focus on people. But I'm finding it a bit easier to have these kind of conversations and this type of work with companies that are within like their first 5 years of business. So companies that just they have their first team. And this is a great position to come in to work in culture because this is when they start to experience the first issues. They are culture related, but a lot of the times they don't realize it. So, I'm speaking with so many founders that are like frustrated about the team not being high functioning, not being independent, not being exactly happy or engaged, but they don't quite know what is it, why. And some people end up feeling that it's even like a matter of bad luck, or, because we don't have enough common knowledge, I think, of what good culture looks like and what a very happy and engaged team looks like. Because a lot of workplaces don't have that. So, yeah, not young in age. I mean, it does happen that obviously a lot of the founders I speak to are millennial or Gen Z. But that's absolutely not, I don't care about age. As long as you want to do something good for your team, I'll have your back,
So what are your pillars, as it were? If someone comes to you and says, I have a culture problem in my organization, or I want to look more after my people, want to serve better as a leader, are you able to share a few of your pillars of how you work with people?
Yeah, I think usually I don't have anyone coming to me saying exactly that. Usually people tell me, we have a great culture. We have a great culture. We have no problems, And then when I'm like, okay, so how is it going with your team? Have you experienced any issues at all? And then everything starts to pop up, Like the team is not dropped in creativity, dropped in performance. I'm not getting much feedback back. I'm asking them what they need. They don't tell me. And, there is all these little things that are clearly culture problems, but again, it's a problem of awareness, right? So something that I was doing at the start of my business was, I had this idea, I'm going to teach you everything about culture, And I was actually pointing more at solopreneurs, like people before they had a team, because I'm like, prevention is so much better, than curing. But what I realized is that if people don't have the situation at hand and a way to take action and practice what I'm coaching them on, then it's really hard for them to see the effects. And especially on something that is about culture, because it seems really intangible to people. But actually, when you do take action and you see how it impacts people and how people behave differently, that's when you click and you're like, oh, that's what culture is. So right now I'm focusing more on this. I'm focusing on, having founders that like I've been very frustrated because they don't have the team doesn't seem to be what they really hoped for. And I basically coach them at, on first of all, identifying their team's needs. And this is crucial because a lot of people do it on surface level. And a lot of the times it's done very directly, like one-to-one or like one-to-group with the founder that says, hey, tell me what you need. I want to help you. But the issue is that you're not taking into account so many different psychological and sociological dynamics, which are, obviously all tied in with how safe people feel in their environment. And a lot of the times, I think what I really need founders to understand as well is that your people don't start living in your company. They have previous experience, and sometimes that experience has been negative. And that trauma is taken on into your company. So if you don't find ways to make people feel safe again and also, present to themselves and happy within themselves at work, and that's what DEI work, for example, is about. It's literally about building the psychological safety. It's literally building a mutual understanding, because every single person is different, and it's not only a matter of like how you look, it's also a matter of like your psychology. And so first thing, definitely understand your team's needs. And then the work we do, it's more about understand your team needs in an effective way that will last for the future. Like you will last with every team you will have, you will understand how you need to think and how you need to get the information out of people in a way that works for them. So sometimes that can look like in an anonymous feedback form and not necessarily in a direct way. And then the other steps are more about making a plan for building an independent team, giving them the right tools, and creating a culture of belonging. And you can't create belonging if people don't feel safe. So you need to start always with understand what's missing, bridging the gap, and then consolidate, any system that is also operational. I mean, the good thing is that I'm an event operation manager, so I'm using these both, like my passion for culture and organizational psychology with operational advice and lean systems, and then how do you put that together in a way that will last you forever. So that's what I work on right now.
Wow. So I was interested in what you said before too, because it links to what you just articulately said. It's really, really great piece of information. Is that you said leaders are really not important. They're just here to serve. So they're here to serve their team, in your opinion, to see their team, see all of them individually, and have them be in the right place to do their job, essentially, for the business. That team in the beginning obviously is quite small, but as the business grows, your team grows. How do you see, and obviously you work in maybe smaller businesses that are having small teams. As your company grows, is it sustainable to keep that level up, or do you see, this works better or maybe companies work better in general when they're small?
Yeah, no, I think that's a false myth. The companies work better when they're small. Companies work better when they understand how to treat their people. And I think there's a couple of things I probably need to say about this. So I get that I literally work on the stage before people scale on purpose, because once you have you start to scale up, and it's probably something you experienced as well in your company, as soon as you start to get more external pressure and internal pressure, your team is the one that is going to hold that pressure. And if you don't have the right systems and bases, this is the moment where people flock away. If you don't have like a good system and a good culture, and people are engaged, and they know what they're going to face. Because I think a lot of the times what I'm noticing is that young companies hire as if they were multinational companies. So they hire for employees. They don't hire for dream teams, okay? They don't hire for people that know that there is going to be loads of changes, that they need to be comfortable with certain type of pressure. There is a different dynamics. You are not a multinational. You cannot afford to have people that are depending on you for everything. You need to have people that are quite proactive and they are willing to challenge themselves. And obviously you can show them the way as well, but it's important to manage the expectations from the start. So I would say, like, what I coach on, it is scalable because it's the foundations of a healthy business. Okay, like getting big, it doesn't matter. Like you can get big, you can still fail. There is nothing, the entire thing of like too big to fail. It's a fallacy of our culture. You can get big, you're gonna die anyway if your people are not treated in the right way. If you can't attract people that actually do want to do work for you and keep your company grow, you are just like coaching people to be robots and yes people, and you'll end up victim of your own groupthink. I mean, if you think about Kodak, if you think about Blockbuster, okay, if you're seeing what's happening right now with Budweiser, if you're seeing what's happening with Netflix, if you're seeing what's happening with Victoria's Secret, it doesn't matter how big you are. And I think when you lose touch with, or if you never had a real purpose and you never, unified people under that purpose, it doesn't matter. You're going to die anyway. Every company at some point dies. The point here is like, when is your company going to die and why? But every company is like, running around the clock to like keep innovating to stay in the market. And to do that, you need creative, innovative people, engaged people. You need people that really believe in what they're doing, and people that are willing to fight and overcome challenges for you. And that's why when I say like the leadership is not important, it's a bit of a provocation, because we've built a culture that it's all leader focused, okay? And there are historical reasons for that, is because, you know, a lot of Western leaders were white males and cis heteronormative males. And there is a reason why we built a culture that is around the cult of the alpha male entrepreneurs. Like, this is academic terms. This is how it's called. That there is literally a category of alpha male entrepreneurs. Okay. And or what in modern terms are called big tech bros. Okay. But there is a reason why we created a cult around these people, to pretend that like some people are just born natural leaders, you know. And there is all this discipline about leadership is about traits, or is about how you're born. Can you learn leadership? Can you not? There is too much obsession on that, and there should be more obsession on the team. What does the team need to do their job? Why are the leaders over glorified, you know, when it's the team that does the actual work, you know? So
yeah.
these systems are definitely sustainable, definitely scalable, and I think it's how I see workplaces work in the future.
It's really interesting that you bring up the alpha male, the focus on alpha males in the business world, and how it seems to be or have been the way to run a business for so long, because one of our missions is to bring more female values into the world of work. And what you describe in terms of building a team, you know, the collaboration and the safety, that sounds like female values to me. So do you see that you bring in a bit of female energy into a male dominated world with your work?
I'm non-binary, so my answer might disappoint you. I actually am a big promoter on not using those type of terms, because I think, personally, I feel that I don't think that all women, for example, have those type of values, naturally. And the same thing with men. Now, obviously, the way we've been socialized, all of us, is definitely more oriented towards certain traits. Okay, and this is just a fact. This is how it is, unfortunately. But I think there is space in our society to actually grow in a new direction, which is more about learning common shared values. Because the problem that I'm seeing when I see, you know, women-led businesses, for example, who have this kind of thinking, the issue that can arise is that they repeat the same mistakes as the male-led historical businesses, which are surrounding yourself with people that are the same as you. And the problem with that, you get groupthink. So you just surround yourself with a bunch of yes people. You surround yourself with people that don't want to ruin the peace, so they don't give you constructive criticism. So again, it gives you the same issues. You know, I don't believe that there are not men who are good at respecting each other, at being anti-racist, at being anti-sexist. I think it's a bit, you know, I think it's important that we remember that men have been socialized as much as women to be, you know, in their case, sexist. It's not a justification, but I think it's important to understand that we're in this together a little bit more. And I do not blame people for wanting, you know, teams that don't look like the typical alpha male. And I wouldn't hire an alpha male myself, but I wouldn't hire an alpha woman either, because that's both toxic type of traits, you know, and they don't work well in a team. So, you know, I don't know if it's because I'm non-binary, I've always had this idea that if we actually start to focus more on shared values and also hold men accountable for educating themselves and for taking action in a healthy direction, then I think we could actually move forward a little bit more on this. Because, but I understand, you know, some people need to have that kind of direction. Personally, I'm more like, you know, because I coach on diversifying your workforce as well. I just can't do conversations that are focused on the feminine, the masculine, apart from the fact that I don't personally, you know, feel attached to it, if that makes sense. But I also think like it's a little bit counterproductive in the long
But I also think it goes back to what you said, you know, earlier, where you said everybody is different, you know, and we have to come to the table with every person that they are unique, and we want to learn their story. and as such, you can't wholly put any preconception on top of that person, because otherwise you miss parts of them, because you fill in spaces for them. You should really have them answer those questions and tell you who they are.
Yeah, I think we are going through an adjustment period. I do think that people have good intentions, but if we live in we've been socialized in a culture that has highly patriarchal systems, okay? And going back to the alpha male entrepreneur situation, the way we built companies since the 70s, it's with pyramidal hierarchies, right? And if you think about it, those hierarchies are pyramidal because they're basically a new version of feudalism. And the way capitalism works is that you need to be able to pay people less than what they're going to produce for you. So the money go up and they keep the person at the top rich. Okay. That's how the economic system we're living is built. You always need to be able to pay your workforce less, a significant percentage of less, because your wage is usually your biggest expense as well when you're producing stuff, especially in products. And the thing is, this system only benefits one person at the top, and it doesn't work on a human level. And on an economic level, I would also argue that it's not very smart. And there are definitely other systems that we can use. For example, one of the ones I like is holocratic type of hierarchies. Holocratic hierarchies are more distributed leadership. Okay, so instead of having a pyramid, you have a circle. And I'm monitoring businesses around the world who actually share, for example, the founder shares the same exact amount of money and wage with each and every one employee, doesn't matter what function they are. There are examples of people doing this. There are examples of people sharing leadership. There are examples of people shifting the focus on, they're just not mainstream in the mainstream knowledge. And so we believe that we have to build companies all in the same way because Google does it, because Tesla does it. But I think what we'll come to realize really soon is that just because they're successful, for a couple of years, all the issues that they're getting with their teams, they're damaging their brand, they're damaging their inside operations, they're stunting their growth. They are, you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of the times people don't understand how much they're missing because it's not quantifiable how much money you lost that you've not made yet. You can only quantify like something that you're losing now. And most companies get into that conversation quite late. Usually they realize their entire system was not working at the very end, and lack of innovation is usually a big sign of not having a workforce that is actually really happy, engaged, and creative. We're giving you something to think about.
Yes. No, you're clearly good at what you do.
I can talk for hours. Like, you ask good questions. I want to know how you both see this. Like, obviously, you are technically a young business, right? Like, you've been a few years. How long have you been in business?
Properly, probably for 3.
Yeah.
Properly, for 7. At the minute, we're probably in that circle that you speak about. Like, we pretty much, I think we pretty much all kind of earn the same wage in our business. But it's I think what for me, when we started hiring our first employees, we did it very much from a perspective of how we knew what working was like in a company, and we were young mothers at the time, and it's a real stretch. It's a real difficult position to be in as a young mum, and we were so adamant that we didn't want to make the same mistakes as how we felt underserved in the businesses that we had worked in before. So that was a really big thing for us. And within that particular thing, it was a really big thing for us to speak to each individual woman, because again, they're not all the same. There's single moms, there's double income moms, there's moms with 5 children, there's moms with only 1 child. And so again, it's that communication and that conversation is in, what do you need in your life work balance? And it's a difficult puzzle to weave, and I can very much understand, that pyramid structure, because it is such a, it's so well traveled. People know exactly how the steps work. It's easy to replicate and it's easy to follow. And when you go and do something that's away from the norm, it gets tricky. We're not going to lie and say that it's easy.
It is tricky. Yeah.
So where does gratitude sit in your work, or what importance does it have in organizations or in leadership?
So I love that you do, these conversations about gratitude, because I think on a personal level, I learned about gratitude just in the past few years. And for me was a mean to stay present in life and to appreciate everything that is around me and what I can bring to the world as well. How can I serve my society? And I think this is what really I try to give this to the people I coach, the founders I speak with, because it's so easy to get caught up in I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to put that fire out, I have to, lead the team, be strong for everybody and stuff. But I think having these moments, even with your team, where you sit 1 second, you stay present, and you're like, this is what we're doing together, because it's not just I always say, it's not really about exactly what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. Whether that it's making amazing biscuits, like yourselves, it's how are you doing it? What message are you bringing into the world? What values do you have? How does your team feel? And that all is going to trickle down to your product, and it's going to trickle down to your customers, So gratefulness for me and gratitude are just elements of remembering how to stay connected with yourself and with others. And I think we lost that a little bit in Western societies because we're so individualistic focus type of thing. And I think we need to remember a bit more what it means to create a community, what it means to, you're spending most of your life at work. If we really have to do this, then you might as well make it worth it for people to spend their precious lifetime. I find that a honor to have people that have worked for me, people that I had the honor to lead. So I don't know if that was a straightforward answer, but that's what I think about when you ask me that question.
No, it's a beautiful definition, and I see that definitely, that gratitude isn't an individualistic act. It might seem like it, but it has that ripple effect, doesn't it? And I definitely believe that in our case, people can probably taste it almost, that the values that we pour into the business, and the care we have for our team. And as Saskia said, it's not always easy, but it's the only way for us.
Yeah, it's really nice as well. You were mothers when you started this. I think that's really a big signal, because you see mothers, obviously. Happy Mother's Day, by the way. But I think it, a lot of what we consider womanhood in culture it's been always tied in with like this thing of being a mother. And in the past century, you know, women were almost not allowed like to really work and being a mother, you know. And I think now the fact that we're seeing so many like people like yourselves who are, I'm a mother and an entrepreneur. And you know, I think it's really tough. I think it's a really tough position to be in, because like the amount of responsibilities I can't even begin to imagine. But I think it's sending like a great signal to people, which is about, you know, you can be whoever you want as a woman. You don't necessarily have to make children if you don't want them. You don't necessarily have to work as well to measure your worth. I think it's more about being true to yourself and have the courage to support yourself and find people that will also support you in your life. And I think you probably have provided that for a lot of your workers, you know, because what you say that you had these conversations, that you've taken the time to look at them in the eyes and see them on a human level. That's where I want all businesses to get to.
Yeah, I see that. I see that. Can we just ask you the final question? If you could name anybody in your life who you've met, who you haven't met, who you've been very grateful for, who would that person be?
Oh, this is an emotional question. I think like a lot for me changed when I met my ex-partner, who's not here with us anymore. He died like a few years ago. And he was just like that kind of person who, I don't know, like it's just been completely burnt from workplaces, you know, like someone that is given so much to their work and their companies, and that has been so burned out from this experience that then when I met him, our entire daily conversations in between work, because we used to work at festivals together, was really about how can we change workplaces, you know. And I think that's when I first started to really think like, can I do something about this, you know? What can I do about this? And so that's the person, his name was Mark, so that's the person I would probably think of and thank for sending me in this direction.
Your work is his legacy in a way.
Huh?
Your work is his legacy in a way, maybe.
Oh, 100%.
That's beautiful.
I'm sorry.
Life. I didn't mean to finish on such an emotional note.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, we usually, you know, we say that we want to send that person a little thank you gift on your behalf. Is there any way that we could, you know, I don't know, in the round, make it be for him?
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do for him is to pay it forward, is to give it to someone who needs it, or someone that can really, you know, you can brighten up their day. Maybe a mom, you know, a single mother. That would be the best way, because he would definitely do that. He was like a very giving person.
We'll do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Lu.
you.
It's lovely speaking with you.
Same here. Same here.
Don't leave just yet. I'm just going to end the recording.